Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Go Earn It podcast.
Hello!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We are back, man.
Today, my co-host is Zach Johnson. Zach.
Hey, nice to see you, bud.
Nice to see you.
I've
Zach,
seen you
if you
quite
could
a
tell
bit.
the listeners who you are, give them a little breakdown real quick.
My name is Zach. I met Angel back in high school, actually in youth football. We were fat lineman buddies. I'm still fat. He's a little bit muscular now, if you can tell. I'll be changing that this year, though. That's on the list of things. I met Angel. Grew up, wrestled, played football. A little bit older than me, a little bit of a mentor. Most importantly, just a great friend of mine. Brought me in to Go Earn It, and now I'm here. Been here for about a year. I'm excited. There's big things happening. Big things are going to happen. It's going to be a hell of a year.
Zach, thank you for the intro. For listeners that don't know, Zach does a lot of things for the company. Inventory as far as our sales rep team that goes across the country, travels, sets up apparel booths, all sorts of events like wrestling, grappling, etc. Zach also works in the finance department, helps out making sure the dollar signs are where they're supposed to be and they're in check.
True.
And what else do you do, Zach?
Pretty much nailed it. My main goal here is since I got here day one, the biggest thing for me was and anywhere I go, whether it's this company, any other company, wherever I'm at, to make everybody else around me their job easier, and that's all I'm here for. So, with that, there's a lot of hats that are worn. I'd say.
So Zach, let's get into the episode.
Let's do it.
Once again, Happy New Year, guys! It's been a crazy 2018. So that's what I want to talk about first is the year in recap. So Zach, if I can ask the first question, what did you think overall about 2018 in terms of Go Earn It?
I think it was a great year. We came a long way. We did, we definitely grew. With help through our sales team, our sales force, you, Brian, everybody here. We have customers in all 50 states now, even nationwide, worldwide. We have a couple. And that's what it's about, just growing every single day, every single year, every single month, just growing and growing, bringing the brand to every single person applicable. And we're going to do it even better in 2019, even better.
Well said. Yeah, I think for the year, in my opinion, I think it was a big year for growth and learning curves and making sure that although the ups and downs are fluctuating throughout the year, we made sure that we always took the most out of the downs.
Yep, it's win or learn.
Right, exactly.
You're going to have your wins, you're going to have your losses as long as we learn from them. That's the biggest
thing. I agree totally with you, Zach, about everything. You were pretty spot on. In terms of highlights, what are some of the highlights you had personally for Go Earn It?
Some of the highlights is why I'm here today is I love listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
There's some cool people that came through these doors, stepped on these mics, from national champions to UFC fighters. That has been awesome to see as part of the company, and it's helping it grow into different avenues and, just putting the name out there as many places as we can. That's what it's about. Go Earn It. That's what it's about. That's been awesome to see. And then from when I got here, there's been a lot of just internal things that have came a long way. Mm-hmm. We have new order systems. We have an awesome singlet designer, all this stuff. We're about to hit our stride, and it's exciting to be around here.
Yeah.
And then, what was the biggest, highs from 2018 that you encountered?
Some of the big highlights, it's just been the constant evolution of the brand. So we go from me traveling from a couple events to having almost 15 plus sales reps.
How many states did you hit before we really started bringing on sales reps before me even?
I mean, I went to, when I first started traveling for sales rep, like related events, probably 1-2 states. And then that changed real quick. When we entered 2018, I went from going to 1-2 states in 2017 to almost 35 in 2018.
Heck, you guys set the goal 50 states.
So, yeah, originally when I started this podcast, part of the goal for the company was 50 states, 50 weeks. Such a crazy, ambitious goal,
We didn't realize we were biting off one of the
shoe
at that point.
And that's fine because in terms of goal setting, you want to reach for the
Just
top.
realistic, unrealistic.
Yeah. So, I'm glad that I set that unrealistic goal because I accomplished more than I thought I would.
Exactly.
So
if
that's
you wouldn't have set it so high, you would have fell so short.
right, exactly. So if I just hit, 20 states, I would have done it and been like, all right, I should have shot for 50. So
For
that's
sure.
why you got to go for the full.
What's your
touchdown.
favorite part when you go out and travel? I know the roads are fun.
I
You
think
have a lot
my
of
favorite part is
reflection.
just seeing when I go to an event and
Why are you there?
and I see those kids like competing. It's like I put myself in their shoes and it's like, dude, I wish I can, be somebody that will motivate that kid to just simply that, motivate them.
Exactly.
So that's what I try to do when I go to events is put myself in the aspect of the kid. So when I go to an event, I'm thinking about what the kid likes. I'm thinking about what the kid wants to talk about. I'm thinking about the kids. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to sell.
Exactly.
So that's a big thing with being a sales rep with Going It. It's not all about our sales. It's not all about, like going out there and, we got to hit this number of event sales or, it's going to be a bust.
Yeah.
Our mindset is actually backwards. It's how much can we impact these group of people that we're about to visit or, attend an event at, and what can we do to motivate them and make sure they're happy with our brand, not just selling something to them,
Exactly. Most companies look at it as the sale. We're re-engineering it for, let's impact these kids. If we happen to have a sale, awesome.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see what you've done so far. I'm excited to see what you will do.
Yeah, I got some pretty big goals in 2019. But my last question for this little recap for 2018, Zach, is what's one of the biggest lessons you learned personally from your year with Going It? What can you take away, whether it's good, bad,
It was just accumulation of being a goer in it, and my time in life. I just learned that people don't really give a shit if you have an excuse.
Yeah.
If they do, they don't want to listen to it long.
Right.
And if they want to just keep on talking about it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So, excuses, there are none. Nobody cares about them. Don't even talk about them. If there's something in your way, get it done. And yeah, that's about it. And it's not what you want to do. My mindset for this year is forgetting what I want to do, doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be about. So,
cool.
what about you?
The long game, the patience.
Yep.
A lot of people, whether it's, Gary Vee or any motivational speaker, you got to be really patient in your process. And I've learned that it's been already a year since we started working together, and it's like that.
Yeah.
So the patience part is very, very important to me because it's easy to get caught up in your own hype and thinking, once you set this goal and you accomplish it, it's like, all right, what's next,
Yeah.
So the patience is really, really something I have to work on still, but I'm starting to learn more and more. It's the long game.
Yeah.
So I'm in this for the marathon.
Exactly.
I'm not in it for a sprint. So
Like a lot of wrestlers, it's good to have your goals, but the thing is say you're, in 8th grade or whatever, listening to this podcast, aim to be a state champion this year, but have the mindset that by your senior year you will be a state champion, and the way you train, the way you approach things is going to change your entire life. So when you set goals, that are attainable in the long term, they are more accomplishable than the ones short term. So, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of piggybacks off what I said earlier about thinking about when I go to an event, when I'm talking to these kids, what do I want to hear coming from their aspect? And that's one thing I tell them all the time, whether it's win, lose, first place, 7th place. I tell them every match is just practice for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have an empty mindset every time you go to compete because there's a lot of variables that happen in life that you're never guaranteed an opportunity to compete.
Yep.
So these kids that are like 5, 6, 7 years old to 12, 13, 14 to college,
Yeah.
you got to all look at it as a sense of it's all just making me better.
Yeah.
Losing's going to happen. You got to get over it now.
Yeah.
Because so many kids get caught up in losing and then they hang their hat on it, and then that becomes like a rut.
Yeah.
So instead, I tell these kids, anytime I talk to a kid, whether it's them winning or them losing, I always say it's practice for the next tournament.
Exactly.
So Zach, my next part I want to get into in terms of this episode, we're going to keep it short and simple, but I want to talk about goals for 2019. So what is one of your big goals personally that you want to get done in 2019 in terms of going it?
I want to expand, We're central here in Rockford, Illinois, and there is opportunities across the country. I think Pennsylvania is a great market. There's great people out there. There's hardworking kids out there. I think that'd be a great avenue for us.
Yeah.
And also in California, I want to go to the coast, just build the brand even more. There's events. I think last year, I think we ended, I should know this offhand, but I think it was about 133 events last year.
Yeah.
I mean, just to show what we're about, we have 120 this first quarter this year. So if you're talking about expansion and growth, that's what it is. And then, by the end of the year, I think we're going to be having, probably 240 in the fourth quarter of next year.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want it all to be in the Midwest because we should share our love with everybody.
Yeah, that's funny. So everything that you just said, it's written in my notes right here. So my goals for 2019, travel to more events, obviously, spread the message about going it. It's one thing to set up an apparel booth and sell and get sales from customers, but it's another thing to make an impact, like I said. So the second thing is really work on motivating our customer base in different ways. We're about being going it, so we want to make sure that always we find ways to do that for our customers or our followers. So
this year also, too, another big goal of mine is that's something that's actually coming to fruition, which is awesome to see, is this guy right here. I want to start doing more go-oriented events. We're going to have our first one coming up here February 17th in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be outrageous. I want to do at least 2 or 3 more of these this year. Yeah. And I want to have kids from every state come out.
Yeah. This event we're having on the 17th of February, it will be our first, I would say, official Go-Earn-It sponsored event.
Yeah.
We've done events in the past where it's kind of like Go-Earn-It presents this, or this is kind of sponsored by Go-Earn-It, but in terms of us actually putting on an event for the customers, the fans, the people that we've worked with, this is it. This is this is the Super Bowl for us in terms of the start of what's to come for Go-Earn-It.
Exactly.
We've traveled to many states. We've set up many booths. Now it's time to get into events, and we want to show what we're all about.
Sure.
February 17th, the St. Valentine's Day Brawl at the Wings Event Center in Kalamazoo, Michigan. That is, it's going to be a good one. Our good friends over at the My Way Southwest region in Michigan.
Paula and Arthur.
Yep, Arthur Garcia has been, great to us, working with us. I met him about over a year ago now, and
at one of those events.
Yeah. So the crazy story behind that is that I set up an event in Lawton, Michigan. I believe it was the first one, and I met this guy named Arthur Garcia, a great guy to work with in terms of a tournament director that really
loves the sport, man.
Yeah, he really gets the sport and he gets it done right.
Yeah.
And in terms of setting up an event, he knows how to get it done from start to finish and out, efficient. So when we started talking to Arthur about these, My Way events to set up at their specific region, we wanted to do something different and actually come out with our own event. So who better than Arthur,
Arthur brought it to us, too. He's like, hey, man, we should really do something crazy for these kids. So what we're going to end up doing is we're making custom singlets for over 120 champions that day. We're going to be expecting 800 to over 1,000 kids from over 4 different states.
Yeah, I expect over 1,000 kids in 4 or 5 states.
It's going to be the brawlers. It's going to be the brawlers of each state. It's going to be a tough tournament. It's going to be a big tournament. It's going to be a fun tournament. maybe a little bit unorthodox, and it's going to be crazy. So if you're ready for a good time and ready for some good wrestling, definitely head out to Winning Event Center on February 17th and check it out.
Yeah.
I know me and Angel are going to be there. I know the president, Brian Stout's going to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be it's a big official event for us. So, when we talk about it, we're going to be talking about it leading up to it, the weeks leading up to it. But in terms of today, I just wanted to cover, that this event is February 17th of 2019 at Wings Event Center in Kalamazoo. If you guys have any questions or any information regarding the event, Zach, where do they go?
They're going to shoot an email over to Arthur at Art Garcia, ARTGARCIA, CIA 07 at yahoo.com. Once again, that's Art Garcia 07 at yahoo.com. Or you can just send us an email at either contact us. I don't know the email. You have to click
if you guys have any questions regarding it, the link will be in the let's just say this. Let's
DM us on Instagram, DM us on Facebook.
Yeah, so let's keep it simple. If you want to get into the tournament,
on Facebook,
contact Art Garcia 07 at yahoo.com.
Yeah, he's the man. He is the man.
So yeah, in terms of the St. Valentine's Day Brawl, I'm excited because it's a new.
This is our first big one.
Yeah,
man.
This is a big opportunity for us, and we want to put it on a big stage, big show.
We are putting it on. So it's gonna be crazy.
And yeah, like Zach said, first place gets a custom singlet and custom medal. The singlets that we're coming out with, kind of cool. St. Valentine's.
Cupid action.
Yeah.
Shooting you right in the heart.
Right, exactly. And you get a custom medal as well. And then second through fourth place finishers also get medals. So it'll be a good event. Good time for wrestlers to compete.
Yeah,
sure.
It's right before your regional sectionals. You want to see what you got? Here's the place to do it.
For sure. So Zach, let's get into what's also to come for 2019. So in terms of January, it's the new year. So I figured we give the fans, followers, listeners a good deal for a promo code. So Zach, you want to tell me about the promo code we're coming out with?
Yeah. So if you're a big fan of the podcast, listener, friend of ours, customer, we decided to give you guys a little 20% off your orders in January.
A New Year's resolution incentive.
Yeah. Need a little bit of extra gear, get you motivated, look down, go in it. All right, I got to go do it. Go to the store, goinit.com/shop. Add all the stuff to your items, or all the items to your cart, and use podcast 2019 at your order. For 20% off your order. It's going to be valid until January 31st.
So yeah, guys, the whole month of January of this year, ringing in the new year with the podcast promo code, podcast 2019. That saves you 20% off your entire order. And whether it's
Which one of these?
grapple snapbacks, Russell snapbacks, singlets, two-piece uniforms, watches, hats, beanies, everything. 20% off using promo code podcast 2019.
Alrighty, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. I know you interview quite a few people, quite a few names. For the listeners, I want to give them a little perspective on who you are as a person. How did you even get into athletics? Not even wrestling or anything like that. How did you become, an athlete of any sort?
How did I become an athlete?
What was the first sport you played?
Football. No, I take that back.
For me, it was taekwondo.
Yeah, I played like little league baseball.
Were you any good?
No.
Not really.
I played shortstop.
Really?
Shortstop, and yeah, I played for like 2-3 years.
When did you start to excel as an athlete?
High school.
High school?
High school, hands down.
Yeah, I'd say 8th grade. Yeah, when you started putting in
No,
work.
it was like sophomore year for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went from playing a couple sports here and there, and then I was just like whatever, 8, was a chunky little middle schooler kid, and then decided to start playing football in 6th grade for Marengo. when I moved to another town, and then from there I played Pee Wee football or whatever, junior tackle football, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. That's the only sport I played. Wasn't really good at it. I loved it. I had fun, but I was a kid that never played a down. I played like the last 2 minutes of every game, whether it's winning or most of the time it was just the last 2 minutes of a game. If we were losing bad or something, they would put me in.
So I guess what clicked in your head where you're like, okay, I'm going to start busting my tail. I'm going to become a starter. I'm going to start, leading by example.
A couple of factors. My body caught up to me.
Yeah.
Puberty, growing, as a, when you're a teenager, you go through all sorts of stages of growth, height, weight.
So it kind of became a little bit natural. Yeah,
it was until after football freshman year, I went out for wrestling.
Yeah. Who got you into wrestling? How'd you get into wrestling?
My football coach. Yeah. So my old football coach, he told me.
Be a lineman, you gotta be.
Yeah. So I was like a lineman back then, and told me, if you want to get better at football, you should wrestle. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And the funny part is, I didn't want to wrestle in middle school because of the embarrassment of having to wear a singlet,
especially being a heavier kid.
And it's the stigma. You hear about wrestling and then you see it, and unless somebody's teaching it to you, your perspective on it's probably negative from the get, because it's like, oh, these guys are rolling around on mats together sweating, and it's not the most appealing sport to watch, but in terms of how tough it is, it's the toughest sport
for sure,
hands down.
So naturally your body grew. I was a teammate of yours.
Yeah.
You were putting in work.
Yeah.
You were also in the gym 24/7.
Uh-huh.
Then when did it transition from, hey, I initially started wrestling for football. When did it become, I kind of like this a little bit better than football?
Well, I was freshman. I wrestled JV the whole year. Had probably 50 matches, like straight up. I was like.
And this is when you first.
I was like under 500 athlete. I was 25 and 30 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And then
that's a lot of mat time too.
Yeah, I wrestled 2-3 times a night, even if it's JV.
Just bouncing around.
Yeah, bumped up the weight classes, take one for the team if I had to. And then sophomore year hit, at that point I was like, my record was like 32-10, and I was like, all right,
I should probably start taking this.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I get it now. Like, the more you apply the work, the better you get as an athlete. Mm-hmm. And so after sophomore year, I took it more seriously.
There was a total mindset change, dude.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, I wrestle against a lot of guys that have been doing this since they were little, and I'm hanging in there with these guys. Now, if I just keep applying what I've been doing and working harder, you can potentially beat some of these guys, and that's what ended up happening. Yeah, I just started getting better and better, and not to say like I was the best or anything like that in my career. It's just the fact that like I understood that the more you put in the work, the better you're gonna get, and the more success you'll get.
Yeah, for sure. This is also when so about sophomore year you started meeting Brian, the owner of the company, correct?
Yeah, Brian started coaching me, the owner of Go Hornet, and we clicked like right off the bat. And
it's kind of weird that there was a mindset change that same time.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was one of the driving factors that pushed me to do my best in football and wrestling.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I grew so close to Brian in terms of a coach, a mentor perspective, just because he was motivating me and pushing me and pushing me and pushing me.
And I mean, it's also too, you can motivate somebody as much as you want, but if they're not going to listen,
right?
You listen. I think that's why,
right?
There's camaraderie between you.
What's
two.
that saying? You can lead a
horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink. Something along those
lines.
Right. But yeah, so you started wrestling. Junior year, we had a pretty stacked team. I was on the team at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were ranked in state.
Yeah.
Fun. For
what we had in the numbers, we were one of those teams back then that worked hard.
Yeah. Angel was the, anomaly, I'd say, because he was the only one on the starting roster that did not come up through the youth program.
Yeah, the whole team back then was a
We were
bunch of
all
guys that
youth.
wrestled since they were youth, so
Third
they knew
grade.
each other. They were good friends with each other. They knew each other's wrestling styles, and for me, it was like I started my freshman year, and it was like it had to be such a fast learning curve because I went from freshman year not knowing anything about wrestling to junior year, like starting to hit a little bit of a stride in terms
taking out
of
people you may have
yeah,
been written off.
definitely. And it wasn't even names that are like big in any sense of the way of crazy, national champs or anything, but in terms of guys that had more experience than me that wrestled maybe triple the amount of years that I did, but
Easily.
I beat them. It was just applied back to the thing of hard work.
Yeah.
Like you work hard, you get the results.
Exactly. From there, you went off to college.
Yeah,
Right?
had a stint playing at a
You went
private
off for
school.
football, right?
Yeah, played private school football. Didn't pan out the way I wanted it to.
What were you studying at that time?
I went in for BA, so business administration. Wanted to do that, and then I went straight from there. I transferred out of the school. It just wasn't a good fit for me. Went back to the basics, and I went to junior college. Got my associate's degree from Harper College out here in Illinois, and then I took my talents to UW Whitewater, and so from there Whitewater was always like in my head.
The end goal.
Yeah,
The end school you
UW
wanted to
Whitewater
go.
was always my end goal, just because from the first time I visited, I loved
Only
it.
champions.
Yeah, so I just like that. Even when I wasn't playing football for them, and I knew I wasn't, it was just like I wanted to be part of that.
You want to be a part of that
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, it's like the tradition. It's like the history.
Because I think at that time they won. They were the first school ever to win. Was it
Yeah, the Triple
basketball?
Crown. Basketball,
Football.
baseball, football all in
Yeah.
1 year for a division,
I
and
mean-
that's all divisions.
And anybody would want to be in that environment.
Yeah,
If you want to be successful.
and they set attendance records
Oh,
for
yeah.
Division 3. They're borderline with some of the even Division 2, 1 schools as far as like attendance records go. They put up a lot of people in such a small
Yeah.
Division 3 school.
UW Whitewater is pretty much the
Yeah, the majority of the
Max Madison.
population is the college kids.
yeah.
During the school year. But when it's summer, I lived there over the summer, the past couple of summers, back then, and
What'd you do during the summer times when you weren't studying? Just working?
working out.
Any weird jobs?
I worked one of the summers I worked I built fuel regulators for generators, so industrial generators.
So you're out there in the woodworks?
So from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day, I would go to Generac. It's a power systems company, and I was on an assembly line, and I spent every day trying to build 30 fuel regulators for the day. That was like, you had to meet a quota. You had to build out, like, I forgot what's the numbers on
Yeah.
it now, but
Probably outrageous.
we were just on an assembly line, and I had to build this complicated fuel regulator for a generator that was supposed to power up a hospital.
It's a lot of responsibility
Yeah,
for something.
I mean, and obviously they have their testing and whatnot, so
Mhm.
it wasn't like, if I'd screwed up, they would know right away.
But even that job, too, it goes kind of back to you to high school. Just the same thing of, okay, I got to do this on
Yeah.
a daily basis, just to get better. And I think, doing that little tedious task over and over and building these things, it makes you a little bit gritty.
Right.
I'd say so. So you went off to college. You went off to Whitewater, working that. Then you started to wrestle there, right?
Mm-hmm. I wrestled at Whitewater for a couple of years.
How did that come about?
Well, I got originally recruited to wrestle. Went right out of high school. When I did my first visit, I met the wrestling coach there, and I loved him from the start. His mentality. Coach Tim Fader, one of the best coaches in the country, hands down, no matter what division. I think he really set the standard for what I know and what I see as a good coach, and he's the epitome of it. So,
You wrestled, who was it, Newman?
what about
In
him?
practice?
Yeah, and, Jordan Newman, one of my UW teammates, he was a 2-time national champion from Whitewater, the only one to do it.
Just once again being in that environment.
Yeah, so I was training with monsters like that, and Newman just signed with Bellator MMA, so off of
You gonna take him out?
one amateur fight.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's unheard of. So like when people hear this name, Jordan Newman, Love him, hate him. He's a tough dude, and he's born to fight. He's one of those guys where it's like, oh, it makes sense that he's a fighter.
For sure.
So
any highlights from the wrestling career?
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much about just what wrestling teaches you as a person, and I got a lot of connections through it. You know, I had the opportunity to train a couple summers every once in a while at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. I got to meet some cool Navy SEALs and train with them and train kind of like how they do. Not to the extent, obviously, but as far as running a wrestling clinic, it's one of the toughest clinics out there, I would say, during the summer. You know, maybe not like as technically sound like a J-Rob or something, but in terms of an intensive training camp that's going to get you in shape, it's definitely one of the ones I would prefer or recommend to any parent out there. It is a little bit pricey, but in terms of the experience of putting your kid in the mindset of pushing them to their limits, it's
seeing what they got.
Yeah, you know, you're waking up running 6 miles in the morning, and then you go to practice, then you eat breakfast, and then you do another practice, and then you eat lunch, and then you do another practice, and then you go through Navy PT, which is whatever style PT they put you through, you know, something related to the SEALs training. One more practice, and then off to bed, or dinner, then off to bed.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, things like that, and then just being able to travel with a team, you know, NCAA wise is cool. Being in the atmosphere of going to like a national championship event and whatnot, and yeah. So I mean, I appreciate everything that Whitewater Wrestling, you know, gave me. Career didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. Had injuries here, there, but no excuses. I enjoyed my time.
So after wrestling, you graduated?
Yeah, I stopped wrestling my senior year. I was done with that, and I needed to just work. I needed money, you know. That's not going to pay itself off, you know.
Yeah, a lot of wrestlers.
Yeah. So I was put in a position where I started bartending. I ended up managing a bar, which was pretty cool, and had my fun there. I learned a lot about just skills in the work industry, as far as how to communicate and how to be personable and, you know, talk to people.
Yeah.
It was a huge skill builder for me, and I recommend it to anybody, you know. Bartending is a fun job to have, you know, and no matter what level it's at. I worked in a college bar, but I still learned a lot through it.
Yeah. I mean, even in those situations, you're putting yourself in, you know, places where you don't expect to be.
Yeah, uncomfortable situations.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think you've
get
done
pissed off customers. You get belligerent people.
College talent.
You get
kids.
snarky people. You get nice people.
Yeah.
You get the whole spectrum.
You get tipped like crap, and you have to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is just.
Yeah, you learn a lot in general, and I've bartended at other bars, but in terms of the atmosphere, one of the best jobs I've had.
Then after that, so you graduated. What did you get for your degree?
So I graduated with a communication degree in public relations, and then a marketing minor. So basically, public relations in terms of just PR work.
Yeah.
So learning how to deal with crisis management, learning how to deal with campaigns, marketing-wise, just the whole generalization of how to communicate some type of message to an audience. That's what I learned out of the degree.
And then from there, you started working at Go Hornet, right? Well, you always had a little tie with Brian at Go Hornet since he was your coach. Let's back it up a little bit. I think a lot of respect came from Brian your senior year of high school, right?
Yeah.
When you were wrestling. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
My senior year.
Angel had a goal when I was a sophomore.
Yeah,
my
senior.
Said, I'm going to state next year.
Yeah, my senior year, I had a goal in mind to make it to state, and I accomplished that goal. But in hindsight, if I look back at it for what it was, you know, I was very disappointed with how I looked at it because, like I said, this ties back into the beginning of the episode about, you know,
setting goals too low,
too
high.
You got to set the goal super high because once you accomplish what you set it at, you kind of get dissatisfied. Yeah. And for me, I set it too low. I set the bar too low. You know, I should have should have been saying, hey, I'm going to be a state champ.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if that's out of the realm of possibility, it's still good to have in your mind because you work towards it.
Yeah.
If you just work towards what you think you're capable of doing, that's all you're going to get.
So you didn't win a state championship.
So, yeah, no, what happened was I made it to state, and I was already on cloud nine, and it wasn't even about wrestling at that point. It was like, oh, I qualified. And for me, that's
far in 4 years. That is insane.
That accomplishment in itself was like, okay, you made it to state based off of just being a freshman starting this sport. That's pretty impressive. And on top of it, I bumped up a weight class.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even in the right weight class.
Were you 215?
Yeah, I've qualified at 215. And whatever you want to say about it, you know, qualifying for state's an accomplishment. And so I took a lot of pride into it. But first match in, I get down to Champaign, and I think I was winning that match. This is the first match. I was going into the third, and I get lat dropped onto my back, and before I knew it, I'm looking up at the lights, and the whistle blows, and that's it.
Damn.
And so wasn't a good showing for me, but it was a good experience to learn from, and it was like a heartbreaker for sure. But, I mean, that's life, you know.
Yeah.
The previous year, I saw one of my teammates expected to win it all, and he lost to a freshman.
Yeah.
In the state finals.
Yeah.
So
state finals, dude, that's brutal.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
Right. So, yeah.
And then, so you fast forward, Brian was your coach there. Now you're here. You started out doing marketing. Tell me how that's going a little bit.
So right now we're at a point where we're building social media platforms and podcast stuff and online orders, this, that. And so I'm kind of just working in one mindset, which is just network and grow.
Yep.
So that's you know, if I want to break it down really, you know, yeah, I'm doing Instagram and posting here and doing this and that, but in general, as far as my marketing job goes, it's just to keep growing, build.
And then the other hat you wear is a sales rep, which is obviously we talked about.
Travel for the brand as well, and I'm one of the few reps that we have on the team that actually has the opportunity and luxury to travel and do a lot of the bigger and events, you know, more exclusive.
Yeah.
But that's just part of something that we're growing into too, because there's going to be multiple reps that are going to be doing what I'm doing, if not more, if not better. So
exactly. That's the whole point of the brand.
Yeah, that's ultimately what you want to do, is get people that can replace you, that can do a better job. So exactly. I mean, that's what we're looking for.
So Angel, I got your infamous last question for yourself. Let's do a little inception action.
Inception action, okay.
What does Go Earn It mean to you?
Go Earn It. Every time I ask that question, I'm curious to see what the guest reacts to, how they take that question. Some guests are always like, "Oh, go earn it. You know, just go out there and win it." Or for some people have said it's a shark mentality. It's dog eat dog world. For me, go earn it means you set something in your mind and you work towards it, and whether you reach it or not, that's not the point. It's about
the journey,
doing it every single day and getting it done. Consistency is key. Simple as that, you know. So go earn it. What that means to me is you got to work every day, strive every day to be better, and that's it.